Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you something fabulous that should be in everyone's stamp room. The new A Year of Flowers book, written by Melanie Menchinger and published by Annie's Attic, the premier publishing house for all kinds of craft books. For those of you who are Gina K Designs fans, you may already have the stamp set A Year of Flowers in your collection. But if you don't, now is the time to pick up this set along with this book, and you'll have card ideas and techniques and step-by-step instructions to make beautiful floral cards for every month of the year. Let me give you a little sneak peek of how gorgeous this book is. I've bookmarked two spots. One of my favorite months is September. And Melanie shows you these beautiful techniques of how to do these pop-up cards and all of these different kinds of easel cards. And what I love about it is these little pictures show you step by step of how to get to this beautiful finished project. Plus, you have all of the written instructions along with all the materials that she used for each of the cards in the book. Another thing that I love about this book is in the back there's a perpetual calendar that you can write in all of the people that need cards for each month. So for example, my daughter's birthday is in June, so I would write Alicia Krupski right here, or I would write Alicia, and then I would remember sometime in May to take a look at June and see what cards I needed to make. Then you can flip to that section in the book and find beautiful samples that reflect that time of the year using that beautiful stamp set, A Year of Flowers. So you're going to really enjoy this book. If you already have the stamp set A Year of Flowers, or you love to stamp with colored ink, another option is the gorgeous stamp set called Pressed Flowers that Melanie has designed to coordinate perfectly with A Year of Flowers. Every flower, stem, and leaf image that you'll find in the line art stamp set A Year of Flowers, you'll also find in the stamp set Pressed Flowers, but they will be the solid filled-in versions. By having both sets in your collection, you can make all of the card projects in the book. Then you can make many of them again using the solid version for a different look. And you can even do two-step stamping because the images are sized to work perfectly together for that technique. So let me show you that technique. I'm going to start with just a piece of white cardstock here, and I have two different ink pads. I have the Memento Angel Pink and I have the Memento Rosebud. Now I'm going to grab the tulip image, the solid one, and I'm going to stamp that in the lighter color. So let's stamp that with some of the Angel Pink first. And there I have a nice soft looking image, and you can see that there. Now my next step is I'm going to use this Stamp-A-Majig, although you don't need to use that tool because these stamps are pre-cut and they're cut so close to the image, you'll be able to eyeball it and get it right on top of that image. But I want to show you how to use the Stamp-A-Majig anyway. So what I'm going to do is put the line art version of that tulip, there's the solid one, here's the line art one, and I'm going to stamp that on an imaging sheet for the Stamp-A-Majig. Now, if you take a look at this imaging sheet here, you might notice that this is not the one that comes with the Stamp-A-Majig. What I've done is, I can't find my imaging sheet, so I just grabbed some packaging from one of my Spellbinders dies, one of the bigger sets, and I just cut the packaging out into a clear square, and it works perfect for a Stamp-A-Majig tool. So, I'm going to ink up that stamp and line up my tool right there in that right-hand corner, top right corner, and create my imaging sheet. Now, I'm going to lay that right on top, and you can see that overlay is just right. Replace the tool, and stamp the image again using the darker pink. And there. Now, I have a beautiful tulip stamp, and it already looks like a line art image that's colored in, but you don't have to do any coloring. And two-step stamping's fun because you can stagger it a little bit. Some people like to do a technique where they stamp the image in the lighter color, and then they come back with the darker color and they stagger it just a little bit so it's not perfect like that. And that gives it more of a graphic look, and you see that a lot in art, in stores and advertisements. Very pretty look too. And you can do all of that with the two-step stamping. Now I want to show you something really fun that you can do with the pressed flowers. I'm going to use this really pretty flower here, the solid image, and I'm going to use some cantaloupe ink and some potter's clay. Now, what I want to do first is I want to ink up my stamp using the cantaloupe because I want to lay down my light color first. And really get that nice and inky. Then I'm going to use the potter's clay, and I'm going to do a technique called rock and roll. And the way you do this is you take this stamp that's inked up with the light colored ink, and you're actually going to spin the stamp over the ink pad, so you're just inking up the perimeter of the stamp, just going in just a little bit, so you're adding some dark color onto just the edges. So watch what I mean. I'm just kind of rocking and rolling around the outside like that. And that creates some depth along the outside. Then I'm going to grab a rich cocoa memento marker, and I'm going to color in the center here. And then I'm going to add just a few lines around this way, kind of extending out onto the petals a little bit. And then I'm going to grab the potter's clay marker, which matches that potter's clay ink that I went around the outside with, and I'm going to do some longer stripes, just like that. Real simple to do, but wait till you see how beautiful this looks when it's stamped. You're going to want to try this in all different color combinations. Okay. Now we're going to do a technique called huffing, and that's where we breathe moist air over the surface of the stamp because some of this ink may have dried and we want it to all be moist again. So I'm just going to breathe some warm air over it and stamp. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? You see all of the beautiful colors from the outside perimeter and all of the work that I did with the markers, and it just creates this beautiful depth in that flower that you can't do really unless you have a nice solid chunky stamp, because it also looks a little bit like watercolor. Isn't that fun? And it's so easy to do, and it makes you look like an artist. I love techniques that do that. So let me show you a finished card project that I did using this technique and the pressed flower set. And I borrowed this sketch. It's kind of a modified sketch of one of the sketches that you'll find in the Year of Flowers book. Isn't that a pretty card? All I did was cut those flowers out after I stamped them. And then I also did the leaves the same way. I used two ink colors. I used Pear Tart and Bamboo leaves. Stamped the lighter one and then kind of did that rock and roll thing around the perimeter, and that's why the leaves are a little bit darker around the edges. And then I just taped them onto that card base and popped up the flowers with some 1/4-inch pop dots, and I have a beautiful card full of depth, full of color, and it's so easy to do. Anybody can do this. Both the stamp set, A Year of Flowers, and the book are available at GinaKDesigns.com and Annie'sAttic.com. And you can find the pressed flower stamp set at GinaKDesigns.com as well. If you never want to run out of ideas again, the book and stamp set, A Year of Flowers, will help you create beautiful projects all year long.